Hey guys, in this tutorial, I want to talk a little bit about podcasts and specifically why you should be using these for your classes. So first of all, what is a podcast? Here is a technical definition. A podcast is a digital audio file made available on the internet for downloading to a computer or mobile device. Typically available as a series, new installments of which can be received by subscribers automatically. This is also known as RSS, really simple subscription. I think that's what that stands for. You can almost think of podcasts like radio in a sense. But if you think of regular radio, it was synchronous, meaning that you had to be sitting at your radio at a certain time to hear a certain program. You know, like Casey Kasem, was it top 40? Is that what he did? Was it 40? So every Sunday morning, if you found the right radio station, you could listen to him tell you what the top 40 songs were. You had to listen to commercials. You had to wait for it. It all just happened in real time in front of you. Podcasts, however, are asynchronous, meaning that they are stored for people to listen to whenever they want. So if radio is sort of like old-fashioned TV before VCRs, we could think of podcasts kind of like Netflix. So why is this important? Well, in 2020, there are over 155 million people who listen to podcasts in America every week. That's not quite half, but it's a pretty big number. And here's another, I think, really interesting bit of information. 25 to 44-year-olds are the biggest consumers of podcasts. And so that means that your students are likely listening to more podcasts than you are. And I am amazed at how many students tell me about the podcasts they listen to, and a very broad type and genre of podcasts they're listening to. A bunch of different things. They're interested in different things, and there is a podcast for anything that you are interested in, and there are a lot of students that are listening to them. It's also interesting that the three most important categories of podcasts are comedy, education, and news. So your students are listening to podcasts, and they are probably listening to comedy or something like that, but they're also listening to educational shows. And I would bet that a lot of them are listening to educational shows that really have nothing to do with your class. So why not put your class in there so they can listen to this as well? I want to suggest two specific reasons why podcasts are such a good idea for your classroom. And the first has to do with availability. Since podcasts are audio files, they are much smaller than videos and can be accessed easily even when there's no Wi-Fi available. These are small files and you can download them on your phone wherever you are. And you access podcasts through apps called podcatchers. One of the most popular is Apple Podcasts. But also the number one streaming service in the world, Spotify, also has a robust podcast community. So wherever students are, and I would say probably most of them are on Spotify, there are a lot of podcasts there, and your podcast could be there as well. So availability is the first big reason. And the second big reason is flexibility. This is really cool because researchers have found that most people listening to podcasts are doing so while they're doing something else, housework, they're driving, they're working out, they're working in the yard or something. And so if you're teaching, we're on a podcast episode and a student knew that they had a test coming up tomorrow, they could just slip that on and they would be able to listen to it while they're doing other stuff and prepare. If your lecture were only in real time at that room, 2 weeks ago, there's really nothing the students can do except for maybe go over notes. But if you're teaching your lecture were on a podcast somewhere that they could easily access, they could listen to that a number of times. And I would say that also means that you could make the material in your lecture much more robust, that you could actually put a lot more in there if you are expecting the students to listen to it a number of times, because research have also found that you don't really know something unless you've been exposed to it quite a few times. Another cool aspect of podcasts is that you can listen at different speeds. Sometimes people talk very slowly. And if that person talks very slowly, with a podcast, you can just speed it up. I think almost every podcast type app I've seen has a way for you to speed it up, and you can listen at twice the speed and you can get through it quicker. And so you could do that as a recap. You're not really listening for the original content, but you're just listening for it to remind yourself of something. Well, put it on really fast, you get through it quickly. Now, how do you create a podcast? Well, creating a podcast is fairly straightforward. Basic requirements are these. First of all, you need to establish a place for your podcast to live. Secondly, you need to record the audio, and you can, use your phone. Sometimes the mic on your phone is really good, and so you need to record the audio. And if you have a video, there are ways also of taking that audio out of your video and put it on a podcast too, which I do frequently. I will have a video and then I just take that audio out, and then I have links to both the video and the audio in Populate. Okay, so what do you need to make a podcast? First, establish a place where your podcast is going to live. Secondly, record the audio, either directly or pull it from a video. Thirdly, upload your audio to wherever your podcast is living, the hosting site, and then you would share that link on Populate. So there are some free services you can use. Anchor is one that a lot of people have been using. SoundCloud is another. But as with everything, you get what you pay for. If you don't pay anything, you really can't expect a whole lot. And there are some services that aren't too expensive. I use one called Simplecast, which is very simple, thus Simplecast, and it has a really nice player that you can embed into your LMS. So for this one, go ahead and you can use Simplecast or Anchor. It won't cost anything to start off with, and just make a short podcast episode. You can talk about whatever you want to talk about your dog, talk about whatever you want to, and then embed that into or send the link in here to link up, and then we will move to the next level.